And so for those lying on the ground, take your arms overhead, maybe stretch the legs out in front. And so you're just beginning to lengthen out, lifting the arms overhead so the breath comes in more fully. Good. And from the position lying on the ground, you will make your way to one side and join us up in a seat. And we're going to start seated cross-legged with the right shin in front of the left shin. And it doesn't matter how far or how close your legs are. You just sit in a way that you can make yourself the most comfortable. You might want to peel the flesh back from the buttock bones a little bit so you don't feel so collapsed under yourself. And then just bring the hands gently resting on the lap and close your eyes. Relax and roll out your shoulders. Good. Relax your belly. Right? So we don't want to have a lot of tension in the belly here. So as you close down your eyes, you're tuning into your breath. Right? And our yin practice is, it's a real patient practice. So when we slow down, chances are we first become aware of discomforts in the body. Right? But this is the mastery, because the whole journey of yoga is that we stay so present to what's happening that we can move beyond it, rather than be in avoidance, right? Be restless, be not able to sit still and calm the nervous system. And so let your pelvis be heavy and the legs heavy. Right? You're breathing in and out through your nose as opposed to the mouth. And I often mention the yogic pranayama book that says so simply, noses are for breathing, mouths are for eating. So if we want to optimize lung function, the focus is nasal breath. Start to roll your head down and around. You can go at a pace that serves you and just feel like you can keep everything quite relaxed as you mobilize the upper back, neck, even the pulleys of tension around the shoulders. Go in one direction and then go in the other direction. And so we're trying to release tension without putting it in another place in the body. So if you do discover parts of, that feel a little tight, then check that you're not clenching your jaw or squinting your eyes or shortening the breath, right? And moving the tension into another place. Good. And then you'll come back up to center. Right, now we're about an hour and a bit off of the beginning of a lunar eclipse. Right, and this is a full moon lunar eclipse. And full moons reflect the light of the sun. They actually bring energy, which is why we tend to have, potentially, it can be a little harder to sleep around a full moon. So this yin practice is setting us up to counter the effects of that. Lean your whole body to the right toward the leg that's in front. And then fold forward, down and around. You can drop your head and make a big circle. Roll off to the left. You might be able to lift your chin at the back. Right, so you're creating a big circle with the torso. You're going to stir the pot. Your breath is easy. Your belly is relaxed. Right, let it feel, we're not trying to go for any strict structure here. We're just moving into some of the soft tissue, seeing if we can trace the shape of a moon. Right, our body is designed not just to move in a forward and backwards plane. Asper agrees. A couple more. So remember, this practice is about mastering the release of subtle tensions. First, we've got to kind of realize that we've got them and then use the breath and the shapes to help us relieve, right, old patterns, old structures of tension. Come back up to center. Your right leg will extend out like a V shape, and your left foot is in next to the inner thigh seam. You're going to turn and face your long leg, palms down, curl your upper back and drop your head. It's quite a simple shape. You're not trying to fold all the way forward. You can have your palms up or down. If you tend to feel like you're gripping the ground, I would say turn the palms up, right? Especially if, when the mind is busy and we've been working hard and now we're still in that kind of got to do this, got to do that, we'll tend to hold a lot of energy in our hands. So you might want to turn the palms up. And be sure to have an even amount of heaviness in the two sitting bones. So this posture has a very subtle rotation to it in the back body. It's as if we're lengthening from the left lower back across to, actually I'm mirroring you, the right lower back across to the back of your left lung, that diagonal line opening up as you turn toward your right leg and gently curl. So as you inhale through the nose, send the breath into the back of your body as if you're trying to stretch the skin on your back. Right, the exhales are where the body will take up some of the slack that you create in the pose. And the inhale is where we build the space. Right, we move into more length, both in muscle and spaciousness in fascia. Then when you feel particular sensations in a pose, there's a discernment that takes place. We don't want to react and pull out if it's uncomfortable, but you do want to discern if it is like nerve pinching type of discomfort, in which case you'd adjust the pose. But the idea is that we move into places of tension, we become still, and we let the breath and gravity help us to excavate some of that tension, so the body gives up some space and some length, and the edge of the pose moves a little further. So there's nowhere we have to get to. It's always a work in progress. Check that your jaw isn't clenching as you bow the chin in. You might need to shake out the jaw, or check that you can relax the tongue on the upper palate of the mouth. For about 3 minutes in the pose. You're in your last minute now. You find the mind wanders, just come back to the breath. Let your body fall a little forward on the exhales if that's what it's ready to do. One more big breath in, gentle but full. And empty. You'll lift your chin to look at the foot that's in the long leg. Turn your palms down. Keep looking at that same foot that's extended away from you, and then lift yourself up. Right? And then from there, turn yourself back to center so we don't yank on the lower back. Both legs out in front, and a gentle, not a big fold, just slide your hands down your shins, keep your chest lifted, a little counterbalance. Close your eyes and feel what you feel going on in the back body. Maybe some heat, some tingling. Right? Some increase of blood flow or lymph flow. So this pose in between is somewhat of a rebound pose. We come out of the tensions and be still. Good. Allow yourself one more cycle of breath here. And then you lift your chin and extend the spine and slide up with a little more of a straight back will be, some quite good mechanics to lift. Then we switch the cross of the leg. So the left shin's going to go in front. And we've got those little circles again, but this time we lean to the left first and down and around. And so as you're turning here, let it be your intention to take out any flat spots in your circle. Circles are great. They really show up where we've got some dysfunction going on, whether it's in and around the low back or the pelvis, even the upper back. So imagine that you're tracing the perfect shape of the moon here, correcting your spin on your axes. Do let your head relax as you fold forward. And maybe the chin can lift and fall back as you lean back. I studied sacred geometry for a while when I was living in New York, and this teacher was talking about the circle, and she said, what do you do when you doodle on a piece of paper? What's the first shape? And everyone said, oh, you kind of go in a circle, right? And she was talking about this psychology of winding in a circle, that it's a very deep part of the psyche connected to creation and movement, and we know it well, and it's soothing. Even when you see little kids, when they're sitting cross-legged, they often start to turn, or as you're a kid, you'd spin around in a circle. Right? But as we move into more organized mind patterns, we tend to forget the turn, right? We forget to be a little less structured, a little more easeful. Okay, give yourself one more spin. The next time you come up, you'll set up what's called the half dragonfly pose on the other side. Okay, so you go up through the spine first, face the long leg, palms up or down, and a little head drop. So you don't have to lean deeply forward from the lower back. We're really subtly lifting off of the low back and releasing the upper back. Okay, so tune back into your breath pattern. Right, and just notice if there's parts of your body that we've learnt to control, right? So there's unnecessary use of tension. We all have it somewhere, usually, could be in the facial structure, eyes, jaw, right? But it could be unnecessary pressing against the ground, like the inability to surrender physically. And that's a really apt practice for tonight. I was reading a little about this full moon eclipse, and it's on an axis of Virgo and Pisces, right? So if you dig in a little to that, it's this balance between, this structure and logic and consideration versus holistic surrender and, having that kind of spiritual side of yourself that's contemplative, visionary. And the theme is bringing these polarities to balance. Right? So if we're tending to overwork the logical side of ourselves and we're linearly focused on our projects, and it could be relationships, it could be anything, but we're not feeding the other side, the creative, the visionary, the joyful, the contemplative, right? Something tends to, kind of break inside. So from what I was reading, there were beautiful contemplations saying this has been coming for a while, like about 6 months, if you think of things that have transpired since the last eclipse season, which would have been about September, October last year. Think about the passage of your life since then, the things that you're working with. Have you been more in logical setup mode, or have you been in your creative pursuits? Okay, so this night of the eclipse is about bringing awareness to what's been more active. But then this is the cool bit, that it is still eclipsed. It's not fully present yet. Right? So they say now the new chapter begins to unfold. So it's like, oh, this is the area of my life. And you can bring your consciousness and your awareness to that as the new chapter begins to unfold. Right? So you might think, oh, well, for me, it could be more the visionary, creative pursuits. Right? And just breathe some energy in that direction. Be like an energetic, yes, I can see I need to have more of this in my life to feel more fulfilled. And that's about as simple as it gets. You don't have to do anything. Right? Just bring the awareness. What about 3 more breaths? Yeah. Just allowing the body to fall where it needs to fall. You don't need to put the brakes on. Just learn to go with what's available in the moment. Remember, the exit strategy is to lift your face towards your left foot, turn the palms down, lift the chest more, and then come up. And then level off through center and extend both legs. This time you can fold a little more forward. You've probably got, some more space creation in the low back. It's up to you whether you want to put your forearms in the middle, if there's a little more depth available. If you've got blocks, you can rest your forearms on blocks or pillows. You can keep your hands on your legs and bow your head. But now start to breathe your inhale more into the upper back, as if the inhale is lifting and propelling you forward, and you're softening towards the earth on the exhale. And you are relaxing and stilling the movement of the eyeballs. You want to imagine that you're looking through your third eye. You're developing inner vision, like seeing the pose in its dimensional nature, not just the cellular structure, right, but the energetics of the pose. Might test out to see if you can soften a little more forward. It's usually after the first minute in a pose where there's an opportunity for a gentle readjustment. Then do for the last minute here, see if you can completely let your head fall as far forward as it will go. There's a really lovely impact in the yin practice on the cerebrospinal fluid, right? This fluid of information that flows along the spine to the brain. A very subtle tissue in the body. We're going to reach the higher mind or higher consciousness, then there needs to be a unencumbered flow, right, along the spine, especially as it moves through the neck into the head. So just a little bit longer. Check your jaw. It's easy to lock up the back teeth in a deep forward fold. So keep challenging the back of the throat to soften, back of the jaw to relax. Okay, 3 more breaths. So consciously exiting, lifting the face. Use your hands for support. Lift with an extended spine rather than a curved spine. And as you come all the way up, you can just bring the legs in a little so they're not so extended. Toes can flop to the side, palms up on your lap. Just be still for a moment, observe and witness what's happening. Good. All right, let's bring the hands next to the hips. Just rock to one side so you can swing your legs back. If you've got blocks, you can use them. It's not essential, but if you're going to, you just raise the hands up on the blocks for your cat-cow tonight. And all we want to do is very gently awaken the back bend and the forward fold. So we've done a lot of folds, so that's going to feel quite nice. But gently rolling the heads of the arm bones to the shoulder blades, lifting the chin and chest, press the feet. Right, so closing your eyes and use your inner eye to imagine the structure of the spine, right, healthily moving through its flexion and extension, right? All of the little discs between each vertebrae getting healthily squished and released to keep the fluid moving. Good. All right, you'll come back to center. And this one's a little shift in the pigeon pose. What I'm going to do is actually, if you've got blocks, you can keep them there. I'm going to put my right shin in the middle of the mat. Okay. Extend the left leg back, and I'll show you front on view as well. So it's like a pigeon pose, but I'm going to keep my knee in the middle and come down. So if you're looking at it from front view, I've got my knee in the middle and I'm resting over it. So it's going to hit the outer hip seam into glute medius, right, into the big glute muscle, the attachments into the sitting bone. But importantly, this is liver, gallbladder, meridians. Right, so again, you can hold this head. It doesn't matter so much for this one, the position of the head. If you want to drop it, you can. If you have it extended, you can. What's more important is how much we can soften the deep tissue all around the right side hip joint here. So if you tend to have quite a tight structure of the hip, you might want to place your forearms on blocks or pillows to take some of the weight off the hip. Challenge yourself to relax your belly. The other option I didn't say with the block is to place it under your forehead to support the weight of the head, so you don't have to hold it out. That's nice too. So breath into your belly. See if you feel the belly press against the right leg there. Check your jaw again. Remember the jaw and the hip joint follow the same fascial pattern. So if we're tight in one, we're usually tight in the other. Okay, so let the jaw release so the breath is unencumbered. And as the space opens up, a small adjustment might be to wriggle the back knee back, half a centimeter or a centimeter. And you're in your last minute here now. So deep breaths into the right outer hip. Follow the exhale all the way to its end. The magic part of this practice is the end of the exhale. It's the complete release. Okay, so you want to leave nothing in. You want to make sure that even the low belly pulls in to help squeeze out the stale air from the bottom of the lungs. Like it's a subtle practice. It's not aggressive, right? But you want to know that you are really milking the release. Just a couple more breaths now. And when you're ready to release, you'll lift the chin, the chest, straighten the arms, walk your hands back. Tuck your back toes and walk the back knee in because you've got to come off the weight of the hip first. Then slide the two shins parallel. Tuck your toes and reach into puppy pose. It should feel like quite a nice release. Some of you might happily put your forehead on the ground. So Elizabeth, for you, take your feet wide now and let the knees knock into each other. Like keep them, yeah, that's good. So there's nothing you need to do here except flush the lungs. Big breathings, relax the outer hips. And about a minute in the rebound pose between sides. Very good. So you can begin to come out of that and setting up the shape on the other side. So your left knee and shin come toward the middle. Wriggle the back, knee back. Just go to the point where you feel like the brakes come on in the pose first. And that's what, in yin, they talk about there being like the first edge of the pose, right? The first place where the body feels its tension, and then you stop there. After about a minute or so, assess whether it feels like that edge has moved somewhat. And check if there's opportunity for the back knee to extend back, even just a little. Taking some deeper breath right up into the upper lungs and nice and wide into the lungs. And you've got one more here. In to walk your hands in and lift your chest up. Good, same as before. Walk the back knee in a little closer. And then send the front shin parallel. Reaching forward with your heart and your arms. And recharge here. Good. And point your toes this time. That's it. You'll shift back to your hands and knees. And before we lay on our backs, just a couple cat and cows. Just get the blood flow moving through the low back and the pelvis. Good. And then for our full moon night, make some circles with your head and your hips. Right, don't overthink it. Your pelvis will swing one way, the head will swing one way. Right, stirring the pot. But you want to feel like it's relaxed. You're not forcing it. Once you've gone in one direction a few times, you'll reverse the spin. We usually have the one way that our body is quite practiced. And then we have the counter spin that usually requires a little more focus to perfect the circles. One spin uses one part of the brain more, one side, I should say, than the other. Good. And then you'll come back to center, walk your hands back, and just sit for a moment, let that settle, palms up on your lap. Good. All right, so staying as you are, when we come onto our back, and I'll just show you first, you've got two options. These blocks are actually quite good for the supported bridge type setup. Just know that eventually we're going to do some lymphatic drainage and lift the legs up. If you use a bolster, which also feels amazing, set up like this first, keep your heels close, send the knees forward. That's going to be the most effortless way to lift through your low back to drag your bolster underneath you, okay? If you've got pillows, doesn't matter how many, stack as many as you can behind that, the lower part of that low back curve into the weight of the pelvis. And we'll start with our knees bent and our arms overhead. Right, this is great for the rotator cuff in the shoulders. But you'll probably also feel, because we've done a lot of forward folds, and this is putting more extension into the spine. So just soften around the lumbar curve there as it resets itself after our fold. Okay, so nice and heavy through your feet. heavy through the pelvis. Relaxed in the abdomen. Right, so this pose as a restorative pose is excellent for restoration of the lumbar curve, the correct wave of the curve in the lower back. So if you sit down and you're on computers a lot, etc., this is very relieving for the low back. But it's also great for the rotator cuff because the arm bone moves back away from the shoulder blade, the collarbones. And it creates an amount of space through the front side of the shoulder, which is where most impingement tends to happen. Again, from, rounding the shoulders, driving, computer work, phones, etc. So if there was any shape I would recommend, 5 or 10 minutes a day is really going to correct some of our repetitive strain. You want the back of your skull moving away from the torso and the chin to be slightly drawn down towards the nape of the throat to correct the neck spine. And if you were to see yourself from side on, the forehead just slightly higher than the chin, would be optimal. And you're relaxing deep in the belly as well. This is great to stretch the fascia, the fibers around all the organs of the lower digestive tract. And then lastly, do check that the weight of your skull is released to the ground. The eyeballs are relaxing in the sockets. The eyelids are soft on your eyeballs. And you're letting your consciousness settle at the middle brow. Right? You start to meditate on that third eye space. Okay, you can bring your arms towards your pillows, bolster, whatever it is. Just bring them back down by the sides. One knee at a time, step the knees to your chest. And then extend the legs straight up. Good. Options with the hands. You can let them rest on your belly, or if it feels quite good for you, taking them back overhead or into a V-like shape. I like to have the feet stacked above the knees and above the hips, so the feet aren't touching, but you're getting this very lineal kind of drainage down the legs into the belly. Check that you're not gripping muscle in the legs, quadriceps, etc. You might need to play with the position of the feet, maybe a little forward toward the face if you find your quads are locking on. Let the knees bend. The thighs fall towards your outer chest. Knees can flop to the side wherever they go. So you're just letting the legs do what they're going to do here. No tension, just gravity. And start to roll your lower back onto the bolster or the setup, and the feet will come to the floor. But do get nice and heavy in the pelvis, like press the pelvis into your setup as you lower the feet. Good. And just keep the knees bent for a moment. Relax your buttocks, relax your belly, let that settle. And now you'll extend either one or both legs out in front. Now, if it's too much for both legs, just do one and I'll let you know when to change. Good. So now it's like I've let all that blood flow like move down into the belly, and now it's like a big flush or a release down the front of the hips back to your feet. Your arms can stay overhead or come to your belly. We don't want the buttocks to be, unnecessarily squeezing or clenching here. See if you can get the belly to rise and fall with the breath. Okay, if you're one leg extended, you'll gently draw that leg back in and switch. couple more breaths. And then you can gently bring one leg at a time back in. Pause for a moment there. We move into final rest pose of Shavasana. And this is where I recommend sliding your bolster down behind the backs of your knees. Right, so pillows, bolster, towels, whatever you like to use or whatever you have. As the pelvis reconnects to the earth, arrange the upper back so that you feel supported. And you can relax the legs and let the toes flop to the sides gently or wherever they fall. Hands to belly is nice for a few breaths here, quite soothing. And again, just witnessing what you feel in and around the low back. The deep structure of the base of the spine has really been what we've attended to tonight. Right, the pelvis area, and that is the physical site of the second sacral chakra, right, which is the chakra that governs the movement of waters in the body, but is also affected by the tides and the pull of the moon. So anything around the pelvis on a full moon is going to be quite relieving, calming, grounding. And so you feel just witnessing the heat, the tingling, movement, sensations, rebalancing. A little passage I read here about tonight's eclipse, that this is about the energetic and emotional personal declarations that something has been building inside each of us of a personal nature. And now is the time when the energy of the cosmos encourages us to let it out. And that over the coming months, we'll discover what this means for each of us. Right, so you're really just setting the conditions this evening for the unfolding of more balance. Right, so contemplating where routines can be upgraded now, things that are outdated. Virgo rules health, right? So structures around all parts of our health, mental, emotional, physical. Right? So it's an opportunity to, up level routines and patterns in readiness, right? So that when the opportunities unfold quite naturally, like to move you into balance, you're ready. You're like, oh yeah, this is something I've made space for. So deepening your breath now down to your belly. But imagining that every cell in the body is breathing in and breathing out. Right? That your whole system of yourself is expanding on an in-breath and softening on an out-breath. And begin to wriggle the fingers and the toes. And lengthen and stretch. Roll to one side and make your way up. Good. Always complete our practice seated. So you want the pelvis and the legs to feel nice and heavy and the belly relaxed. So think of your lower body like an anchor, and you're able to just drop the anchor onto the earth, fully present. And then tune into the line of the spine. And when we're nice and heavy in the pelvis, we get a sensation of lift or lightness along the spinal cord. So bring your hands to prayer at your heart. You can tip your chin down. And just take a couple of breaths with yourself, appreciating the effort that you've made, the time that you've carved out to sit with yourself, and invite contemplation. It's the first step before change. Right? That we're self-inducing, shifts. We're not reacting to life. So be grateful that, you have this time today and you can ease into your night this evening. Right? And with a sense of excitement, let the next 6 months unfold. And lift your thumbs to your brow and bowing in. Namaste. Beautiful. Great. So I don't know if we cleared the cloud cover before the eclipse with our yoga. Maybe not yet. That was lovely, everyone. Thank you. So if you're of the crystal persuasion, full moons are when you charge your crystals, put them near your window, put them in salt water. That's a good thing to do tonight. So apparently the eclipse begins about, I read 7:48 our time. through to its fullness at about 10:30, and then it winds down at about 1:30. So, you know, if we didn't have cloud cover, we'd probably see it. But if you do find yourself awake tonight, because that can happen on eclipses, it's just to relax and be like, okay, do what you need to do to my psyche and myself, and, you know, upgrade me as I sleep. Good. Beautiful, everyone. I'll pause the recording here. Amazing.